The first question is that why Chögyal Papa gave the first teaching on the worldly advice to the prince and not other teachings, any reason and purpose, right? So I'm not very sure, if I have understood the question properly, because why Chögyal Papa gave the first teaching on worldly advice to the priest, right? If it means that this garden of jewel, right? If it's the first teaching of Chögyal Papa, if you mean in that way, it's not true. It's not right, because it's definitely not his first teaching, right? Among his teaching, but to the prince, he give sort of like worldly advice, right? But now, okay, so, I want to rephrase that. Because Chögyal Papa, he start teaching. There's even some story about him teaching when he was just like 3 years old. So Chögyal Papa taught this teaching, give this teaching to the prince when he was like 32 years old, which is like 1266 year, 1266. So he gave this teaching when he was 32 years old. So, and in his story, right? In his story, it is known that Chögyal Papa, he gave teaching even when he was like just 3 years old, right? So this is not his first teaching. I'm just trying to clarify if I have misunderstood the question. Now, why he gave this first teaching, this to Prince, as a worldly teaching, advice. Now we also have to think very properly, the term worldly, because I really don't think it's a worldly. Because the term worldly, right, and spiritually, I don't know whether I'm right now, right, because of spending some time learning English. Now I feel like my English has even became even worse right now, because there's so many confusion in terms of like a terminology, like spiritual. Because when we use a term like a spiritual, there's a different meaning for those Westerners. The way when we say spiritual, it kind of gives them a idea that we are talking about a spirit, right? And for them, spirit means like, there's a thing that will be with us for long time, which is unchangeable, all those stuff, right? So I don't know if the worldly and the spiritual thing, the terms is quite confusing. But now, all those teachings, right, cannot be worldly teaching. It can be the only thing it can be is teaching to change our mind. That's what I meant. Like, if there's a teaching, and if change your mind, if it helps you to transform your mind, then there's a teaching, and there's a genuine teaching. But the worldly advice, right, it can also be a genuine teaching. I don't know, because to me, right, when someone says like worldly advice, it gives me like, or it's not like a genuine teaching. If it gives you that kind of idea or vibe, that's not true. Because what for me, right, what this teaching seems to be is a very fundamental teaching, very basic teaching. If you use these terms, that would be much better. That would clarify, and also less confusing for me, right? So this is not, I wouldn't say is a very worldly advice, but it's also, I would consider it as a genuine teaching, but very fundamental and very basic teaching, right? And why there's a he gave this worldly advice to a prince and not other teachings. Because first of all, right, why Buddha teach, why Buddha teach, why teacher teach to others? Because to solve the problem, right? And the ultimate purpose of any teaching that has been taught by Buddhas and gurus is to attain enlightenment, right? And why we need to attain enlightenment is because when you have all the powers and ability to help others, then you can help them the best. That's why now there's a compassion, right? Now this is the ultimate purpose of teaching. That's why we want to help them when we are our best ability to help them, because we want to help them best, right? Now this is the ultimate purpose of every teaching of Buddha and gurus. Now there's a like a temporary purpose, or not the ultimate purpose, right? Is to solve their problem, right? So that's why because there's also, I don't know, because I don't have this English text, right? Translated English text of this teaching, because you can see there's some teaching, right? Oh, be careful, you have to be very good to your king, you have to be very good to your people, you have to be very good to those ministers and all those people, big peoples around you, because if you do good, they will help you, and they will grant you a lot of success, and people respect you based on superior support from other people, right? The big peoples. So the reason why he gave all those teaching, those how to live a happy life, how to help others, why you should not eat meat, why you should not spend so much time on listening and wasting your time, is because that's the problem for most of the princes and the king, right? Because, for example, king, not king, Jibik Temur, I don't know how to say it in English, but in Tibetan, the prince Jibik Temur, his father was a king, but he himself was not a king. He never get a chance to be a king. He was just a prince, right? And his I don't know, like a relative like Kublai Khan, he was a king, right? So what it shows to us as historically is that there are so many troubles, there are so many complications, that his father is a king, but he himself is not a king, and his other relatives are the king, right? So it means that there are so many complications, there's so many troubles. So for that reason, to have to have the problem solved for the prince, what he really need was those basic teachings, how to lead a spiritual life. I don't know if it is true or not, like the right term to use or not, spiritual life, and how to transform your mind, how to look at your relative, how to how not to be so pride about your wealth, because it says, right, you look at your sun, which is the brightest and hottest thing in this universe. Look at those Mount Meru is the biggest and mightiest. All those stuff also get destroyed. They will be destroyed at the end. They never last. So therefore your wealth will also will not last forever. So there's no reason for you to be so feel pride about all those wealth, right? So those teachings, those basic, what I meant, those basic teaching, So if you meant by worldly teaching, like a basic teaching, yeah, I think that's why. Because as I said, we have a two purpose, right? The ultimate purpose and the temporary purpose. So the temporary purpose is to solve the problem, right? Solve the problem of those students or listeners, right? And for Prince Jibuk Temur, the problem was, how to live, because he need to learn how to live a proper religious or happy life. That's the thing. That's why he taught, but as I say, this question seems to be a little bit confusing for me. Like first teaching on worldly advice to a prince. I'm not very sure, but yeah, it's not his first teaching, right? Chugil Papa, he already gave a lot of teaching before, but to prince he gave this teaching, but it's not a worldly advice because it's we can consider it's a genuine teaching because we say Chöpa the Kyopa, the one who change your mind and one who free you from this samsara. You can consider it as a shastra. We have this explanation or definition of shastra, right? So these are teaching. You can consider it as a genuine teaching because right now, it's my own personal feeling or experience, that people always tend to jump for those very advanced teaching, like tantra's teaching, those empowerment, all those stuff, and because they think it's very advanced, it's very powerful, and it will just solve your problem in instantly, but that's not true, right? And many of the people, they undervalue, they sort of like devalue the value of the basic fundamental teaching. That's very, very, very wrong. If you really want to be able to learn all those advanced teaching of Buddha and Bodhisattvas, we must learn all those basic things, about like compassion and how to be a genuine person in our Buddhist society, in our Buddhist center, in our Sakya center, right? How to be a genuine person, because His Holiness the 41st, he himself said, right? If you are not a genuine person, a good genuine person, there's no way you can be a good Buddhist practitioner. And if you are not a good practitioner, right, and there's no way you can be a good practitioner of those advanced teachings of Buddha and Bodhisattvas, right? So because of this question, right, I get an opportunity to say that we must learn those so-called worldly advice. For me, it's very, very important, and for everyone else, it's also very, very, very important, especially for the people who cannot control our emotions. For example, like me, I'm a very short-tempered guy. If things happen, I'll just lose my temper, then. And if I cannot even control my own anger, then there's no way we can help other people, right? And so what happened to our bodhicitta mind? For all these sentient beings, I'll do blah blah blah. It's just a blah 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 then, right? So yeah, for those people who cannot control your emotion, cannot control your anger, who cannot control your craving, right? So for those people, those basic fundamental teachings, right? How to say this? Mind practices. Is it mind practices teaching? Yeah, those are the best, and especially for those people who really want to have a very productive and very immediate result, by practicing Buddhism, right? Mind training practices are the best practices because it will give you the immediate result, and it will help you to control your emotions, control your behavior, control your everyday, behaviors. So yeah, these teachings, right, can be, of course, it is a genuine teachings of Buddha and Bodhisattva, especially this, the teaching that was given to Prince Jibuk Timur. Yeah, so I would request all of you guys, instead of just jumping into those advanced teaching, right, please make sure before becoming, like a genuine practitioner of advanced Buddhist teaching, right, first let's try to be a good human being, try to be a good human being in our, let not say in this world, but first let it start in our Sakya centers, right, in our own centers, or maybe if you cannot be a very good person in your center, in our center, right? And how about be a good good person in our own home, you know, be very friendly or close or warm or kind to your own children, to your own, you know, partners, to your own friends, then there's chances for us to be a good Buddhist practitioner. Otherwise, right? So the thing that we are really lacking right now is, you know, this basic human, genuine behavior, really. Actually, I kind of feel like a little bit weird because, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just talking to myself. If there is any questions, right, you guys can just use your audio instead of like posting. We can just ask question, you know, like with audio. I would feel much better. like a real transact, you know, like real communication. Yeah, for example, right? Okay, Doris, you say you can give a summary of teaching. For example, the first for today, and the previous teaching, the day one teaching and day second teaching, right? For example, we can say, you know, for example, first thing I really like about is that, see, I don't know which stanza because I don't know the which stanza, but in Tibet we say Kangla dipel punzo kyang chupel number midena tukje kase sangsashin dungal bashike last, right? If this stanza, I think if you guys can just memorize this stanza, it's actually very nice stanza. I kind of really like this stanza. It says that our life, you know, has to be very balanced, very balanced. Like it says that if you have a very good food, but that food is mixed by a poison, you know, it will only do harm to you, right? So this is the example, and he, Dragon Chukil Papa, he goes on saying, Dungal Bashike Bala Kanshi, right? Dungal Bashike Bala Kanshi Chugi Pal Denya Jiden Pal Given Yuna Shumpa Chebe Rinchintar Shingi Tundu Gurmalas, right? He says that we are very good at, let's say we have the practice, right? We have all those teachings and we are practicing these teachings. But if we are lack of this worldly facilities, right? For example, like for say money, you know, and name and respect. If we lack of those things, then we will, our life will be very unstable, right? That's why he said, it is very important for us to have a very balanced life in terms of worldly and in terms of uh, spiritually, right? So what he meant, right, is that you cannot just not give a care about your worldly life and just try to be, you know, like very spiritual person. No, you know, you need work, you need good food, you need enough money, right? Then there is a chance for you to be a good practitioner. That's what he said, right? He says that we need both. We need a worldly achievement and, you know, spiritual achievement. You know, it has to be balanced. That's why, because I've seen, right, in our Buddhist society, some people, when they maybe they are new, I don't know, I'm not very sure, right? But I've seen many people, right? Oh, I don't really care about, this life. I really don't need work. I'm super dedicated to this, like uh spiritual finding, trying to find myself, all those things, right? I've seen many of them like that. Really, they're like super, super dedicated. They really don't care about all those worldly stuff. All they care about is the practice. Buddha's teaching. It's not going to work because Buddha, Chögyal Papa, he himself said that, right? We need both uh, uh, practice, the dharma and worldly stuff, like money, like food. All those things has to be arranged well. So there's a chances for us to um, be a proper, have a proper balanced life. Then there's a chance for us to be have like practitioner. Yeah, this is the thing. Really don't go and say, okay, Rinpoche, I'm like guru. I'm like totally 100% into Buddhism practice. So I offer you everything. I'm offering you my house, my money. My tan man tan in Hindi we say it, right? Body, mind, and all of my wealth. Right? I don't need anything. I only need dharma. This is also not possible, right? Maybe it was possible for certain people, but it's just certain, like few percentage. So if you really want to practice Buddha Dharma, your life has to be balanced. Your life has to be balanced in terms of worldly and spiritually. This thing, we must learn. And second thing, right, that I really wanted to share with you guys is that mm, uh, I don't know. He see Kyutuk Chepa Migurishin Pelgi Pelya Pelkile Tato Payutian Telos, right? Dinda Kimbe Kupelgi Kyutuk Chepa Migurishins, right? As I said, before, like Nime Hudangia so longs, right? Sun and ocean and Mount Meru, right? All those things are known to be like indestructible, but they don't last forever. They will be destructed. They will dismantle. In certain period of time, right? If those things that are known to be indestructible can be destroyed and will be destructed, then your wealth, Prince, your wealth will be destructed. You will lose all those stuff. It won't last for long. So there's no reason for you to be so um, proud about your wealth. So what Chögyal Papa, right, he advised him to do is that Takto Payu Tentelos, right? So that's why it doesn't matter, how rich, how handsome, how respected you are, it is not permanent. It is impermanent. It will not last forever. So don't be so pridey. Now, what you need to do is to have a mindfulness. Takto Payu Tentelos, right? Takto Payu. It means that mindfulness. Now, this thing, like mindfulness practice, this is the thing for anyone who want to be a genuine person who is like cherished in our society. As I in college, right, in Sakya college, I used to teach, where I used to teach. I always tell my like my students, they're more like my friends than my students, because I always end up playing basketball with them. They're my like basketball teammates, right? And they are also like my students. So I always say that um, it is very important for us to have a mindfulness, mindfulness practices, because um, um, because this there's a example. I think this is like instruction from certain great masters. He said, whenever you are with people, right? Whenever you are with other people, always control your mouth, right? Because if you say something wrong, then that's it. It is out there, right? And especially if you say something bad, bad news travel fast, we all know, right? So he said, because in Tibetan saying, we say, if you use a wrong way, you can turn back and get to the right road, right route. But if you say something wrong, there's no turning back, right? So that's why when you are with other people, it is very important that we must keep our mouth in control. We are not saying don't say anything, or we are not saying say everything. We are saying keep it under control when you are with other people. And when you are alone, right, always try to keep your hand clean. We have lots of people who have sticky hands, like to steal things, right? Not because they are poor, but as a habit. I've seen certain people, right? They have enough money and everything, but because of their own habit, right, they just can't control their hand. They just have to pick something like a stealing, right? So whenever you are alone, right, you must keep our hand in control. But every time, right, every time, always keep your mind under control, right? It doesn't matter with others or without others, or you're alone, right? Always try to keep your mind under control. Now, how to keep our mind control, right? Being mindfulness. Now that's why, right? Right now in our society, the real problem is not lack of money. It's not because of lack of teacher, it's not lack of centers. It's lack of not being able to control our mind. That's why. So if you want to control your mind, because right, everybody like talk about or I've been learning lamdre for 20 years, 10 years. I've received this lamdre from His Holiness 41st. I travel all the way from like Spain or Europe to Nepal and India and to get those teachings. But at the end, you just cannot control your anger. So what's the point, isn't it? What's the point? Because in Taiwan, right, also in Taiwan, really, that I've seen a lot of people, I've been learning Buddhism for a very long time, like 20 years, like Khenpo Apo Rinpoche was here like many years ago, like probably like many decades ago, right? And I'm one of those disciples. But what? They are the same that guy, what he used to be before seeing Khenpo Apo Rinpoche. So what's the point, right? What's the point? Even in our like small, like home, in our small society, in our small centers, people don't get along. Why? What's the problem? If we get along and do our work together and be happy, be warm, be kind to each other, we will be much more successful than we are right now, spiritually and worldly. But we are not. Why? Because we are not good at controlling our mind, because we don't practice the practice called mindfulness. That's why, right? So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness means just like looking, like just as like those camera in our centers, everywhere, right? Like how the camera monitored our movement, exactly like that. We must monitor our mind. See, oh, what you are doing right now, is it good or is it bad? Or if it is good, right, I should do it. If it is bad, right, I should not do it. Really, those things are easiest thing, easy to understand, most helpful, most productive, immediate, result. But we don't like it. Why? Because people think, oh, it is just basic for new people. No, not a new, trust me. Those things are the most important teaching. And the reason why we are suffering right now is because lack of those qualities, and those are very well taught in this teaching. That's why, the power, mindfulness is also very, very, very important. That's so yeah, especially right, as I said, these teachings are for a very basic, a very fundamental teachings, right? And yeah, for all those people who are aspire to be a good Buddhist practitioner, yeah, as I said, try to be a good Buddhist, good person, good human being first. Then there's a chances for us to be a good Buddhist practitioner, right? But even before that, what we need to do is to control our mind. And how we control our mind is through mindfulness, because we need to know what is happening inside us, right? Most of the people have no idea what is really happening inside us. Really, most of the people have no idea why they are angry. Most of the people have no idea, like, uh, why he is suffering. Why she is suffering. Yeah. So the practice of mindfulness, I really recommend you guys to practice it. And also, now there's a second thing, right? I would like to, because in in I don't know about Singapore, but in Taiwan, right, there's so many uh, problem. I wouldn't say it's a problem, really. Like, as long as you have a child, right, it's good enough, regardless of gender, let it be a daughter or son. I don't care, as long as you have a child, it's good, right? But in Taiwan, I've met like not many, like, oh, I want son. I have like two daughters, but every family cherish a son very much, right? And there's say there's say it seems to be quite like funny, but he said right. 출룩 개화집에 능규 주었다보다 대단히 라든바다. So if you want to have a, like, um uh I don't know how to say, like, son, and your own bloodline and bone line, right? Sons, all those stuff. Yeah, what we must do, he said that always um be good to your parents and grandparents. Yeah, it is said here, it's not made up by me. Yeah, he said that, uh 등교 주었다고 다니엘라 듬바다 공방 지신 두번 공방 지신 두표라 강이 뺄라고 되는 대가린 너들 갸워주도 너르부신스 갸워주도 너르부신스, right? So we must, if in order to have your bloodline, like healthy bloodline and bone line, I'm not very sure what does it really mean, but what the real meaning is that to have your son, daughter, son, blood, all those, right, line. What you really need to do, if you really want those things, right, what we should do is to, be very respectful, love your grandparents, love your parents. With that malicious action, spiritual action, then as a result you will have a very good family line. I don't know what to say, those lineage. I'm not very sure. Your son, you will have a very healthy family line or something. Because I've seen this problem, in Taiwan. Oh, I need son. Oh, because if there's no son, there's no, the inherent. Yeah, this is the one thing that I would really like to share. Yeah, and then there's also some good things. If, for example, how to respect, like, sometimes it can be very confusing, right? If in India, it's not only in India, it's everywhere. We call it rig, like caste, like high caste, lower caste, the middle caste. So he also taught the prince that um, if you see people of different caste, then you can respect them, according to their own caste, right? Or if they like king caste, and Brahmin caste, and uh, there's a lot of other different castes, right? If there's a different caste, you can respect them according to their own caste, and um, if there is like all of those are king, then you can respect the oldest one. Like if let's say you see like bunch of Rinpoches together, then we all are Rinpoches, right? Then you might be confused. Okay, who should I respect the most? Something like that. Maybe you can respect us like all equal. But if you have to respect someone like more, then you can do it according to the years, the age. Yeah, it's also said like that. And Mawe Nangne Demata. And there's a lot of speakers, right? Teachers, let's say teachers. And who you should respect the most is that the one who tell you the truth. The one who tell you the truth, you should respect the most. Now, this is a very, very good message, because not exactly by because of this word, but how would you know? This is a question you might have in your head right now. Like, how would I know he is the one who is telling the truth, right? Yeah, this is also this question I used to like receive a lot. Like, how would I know? Rinpoche, how would I know if he is really telling us the truth? Now it's totally depend on you. That's why you need to study. That's why if you are uneducated, if you have no idea about anything, then yeah, for example, if you have never been in the United States, right? Then I've been in the United States. I can say anything. I can say anything, and you have to listen to me because you have no idea, and I've been there, right? So exactly because of that, you know, uh, as we say, listening to a teaching, concentrating on a teaching, and doing a meditation, right? These are very important. You need to educate yourself in order to understand whether that guy is a fake or a real, the charlatans. So for example, right now I'm saying, oh, blah, 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 right? Now you guys might have some idea, okay, this guy is like, right now he's right now, but this is like, seems quite fishy or quite shaky. Maybe he's wrong about this part, right? Because why? We have already learned this teaching from His Holiness, right? For the second. So that's the advantage. So don't always jump for the easy thing. You understand? Easy, because like, oh, uh, uh, like if you really want to if you really want to achieve something good in your life, then you have to work for it, right? And to be able to distinguish whether this person is telling you the truth and this person is not telling you the truth, that's already a big achievement, right? If that's a big achievement, then you have to work for it. You have to work hard. That's why you need to spend time on studying Buddhism, right? Yeah. And that's why one thing, this is also one the reason why I'm saying, right, try to practice this basic and fundamental, which is the most important teaching. Why? Because even people say, things, fishy things, fake, lie about those things, it's not going to matter so much. But those superior advanced teaching, if they say something very wrong, right, if they start telling lie to you about those teachings, then this tantra and teaching is like getting on a train. Really, it's getting on a train. Once it's moved, right, it's never going to stop. That's the only difference with our general train. General train, our usual train is just stop at some station, right? But tantra and the train, it never stop. If you're on, you are on. It will just keep moving, and if you try to jump, that's it. So, but on those fundamental teaching, right, there's a lot of stations. We can stop, rest, have some, coffee, and back on the track. That's why I'm saying, right, try to be safe. Try to be safe, because we are new. I've been studying Buddhism for the last 17, 18, 19, probably like almost like 21, right? But still, I consider myself as a new Buddhist practitioner, very young. And yeah, I spent my whole life, like since 11. Now I'm 32 years old. Since 11, I've been studying, and all those Tantra teachings, right? Trust me, I spent quite a time uh, to understand those things, but it's not easy at all, really. It's not about how smart you are. Those teachings, right? Really, because in Tibet we say Kaldin Gidulja, Kalwada Demba. Kalwada Demba means like the one who has the karmic capability. Kalwada Demba. Karmic capability is not only about how smart, how sharp you are. It's about whether you have that connection, the karmic connection. Whether you have that karmic capability, to understand and practice those teachings, the Tantra teachings, right? So that's why those things are actually very risky. Once you are on, you are on. That's it. But these fundamental teachings, right, it's very easygoing, very productive, and there's an immediate result. That's why I'm requesting all of you to concentrate more on these teachings, this fundamental basic teaching. Otherwise, we have a saying, example in Tibetan, it says that don't try to copy a tiger, because there was a wolf who tried to copy a, lion or tiger, and that wolf ended up breaking its own spine, like back. So that's what's gonna happen. Don't try to copy, those tigers. Just because those tigers can jump so high and they're so strong, doesn't mean, we as a wolf or a jackal, dog can do exactly what the tiger and lions are capable to do, right? Otherwise, we will end up breaking our own back. So that's that. So yeah. So that's why these are important, right? And there's also Shungluk Nane Tedian Tangs, and the one who teach you, right, philosophical things, then you should always respect those who teach you with a reason. Now, this is also very important, right? The one thing, yeah, very funny thing, right? Because I've been almost like a year in Taiwan, and it's very weird, really. It's also very funny. Like, let's say it happens, to me, between me and my very close friend here in Taiwan, right? So that person was very unhappy, like sort of like very broken mentally. I don't know. Yeah, it seems to be like that person seems to be in a lot of turmoil. And as a teacher, right, of course, I'll try to, teach, right? I'll try to like bring on those philosophical bombs, like the very valuable teaching that I've learned during my, period in college, right? Yeah, then I used to, use those teachings on that person, that never worked. it, it never worked, really. It never worked, but because I thought, right, for me, right, if there's a certain reason, okay, you should not do this. Why? Because this is this, right? You should do this. You should not feel like that. Because why? This is this. If there's a certain reason, the proper reason provided to me, then for me, it would be much easier to accept, based on those reasons, right? But to that person, because of course, uh, uh, the person have no history, like as a has a life as me, like spending a whole life like learning Buddhism, spending in monastery. Of course, our course of life is like totally different, right? Because of that, uh all those teachings didn't really work on that person, right? But after, like after hour, maybe half an hour of talking, it's like, oh, don't say those things, I don't need these reasons. Yeah. that Then after all, I actually ran out of my reasoning, you know, like reasons that I've learned. I was totally empty and I was like totally gas out. Then I don't know what should I say, you know, what should I say? Then I say, okay. Then I totally ran out and just to say something, you know, I say, okay, maybe, you know, it's a connection. Yeah. Then that person clicked in. Wow, that's true. Oh, that's because of connection. And I just said it because like I have no much other stuff to provide to that person, you know. But I said, okay, all those stuff, you know, like sad, broken, maybe it's just a connection. Then the reason, you know, that the thing connection hit that person so hard that it seems like, oh, everything now start to make sense. It's something like that. Sometime, right? Because of our own experiences in our life, mm, uh, people can be very different, really. It actually, whenever, you know, like uh, bad things happens, and if you really want to grow up, if you really want to change, if you really want to, you know, stand up, we should always, you know, try to find a reason, you know, why it happened and why I should not be broken, and what's the reason, right? But because of our own experiences, you know, that information that we have kept in our heart, in our head, in our mind, based on those informations, right? Sometimes the reasoning doesn't really help. I mean, for most people, really, for most people, for example, oh, I say, like, especially for those old people here, right? Oh, you should do this because why? This is this. You know, you should do this because this. You know, if you really want to have a like healthy death, like when you, or like not healthy death, like peaceful death, then you should do this. You know, like try to practice, you know, this mindfulness, compassion, and that's how you should do it. To do meditation. Oh, they'll just, you know, start to sleep because it's all so boring. But if I say, you know, oh, chant this mantra of Tizang Wang Pusa, right? If you chant this mantra, you will just go. That it clicked in. Wow, so true. Of course, yeah, it's like that because why? We have no experiences or, you know, our life uh, in our life of you know, accepting or trying to understand the reason, the logic, right? That's why those for many times this, you know, logic thing doesn't really help. Why? Because of our own experiences, you know, the information that we have kept in our head, it doesn't really click in, you know, like mm, mingle with the reasoning. So that's why, right, always we should make a habit of, you know, reasoning yourself, reasoning your mind, right? That's why he said that Shugluk, the one who preach you, you know, philosophical thing, always try to follow those who preach with reasons, really, right? So sometimes for me, you know, to teach in Taiwan, it seems to be very easy, you know, just say, oh, if you want to have peaceful life, just chant, you know, mantra of Tizang Wang Pusa, you'll be fine. Oh, they're happy, you know, wow, very nice teaching, all those stuff. And when I really try to teach, you know, with a lot of reasons, you know, it doesn't really work, right? All all wasted, all energy wasted. Yeah. And the second thing, right? The next, Tulshuk Dinle Shen Pinchins, right? Tulshuk, the one, oh, ooh. Oh, sorry. I think, okay. So sorry. Last thing. Now, this is, I think this is the most important thing. Tulshuk Dinle Shen Pinchins, like, uh, the one who has a lot of mm, precept, right? Precept, rules. You know, for a monk, we have our own precept, right? But what Drogen Trigil Papa, he said that there might be a lot of people with a lot of precept, right? But who you respect the most? The one who care for others. You know, the one who always have the sense of welfare for other people, right? The one who have the compassion, the one who really want to help others, right? So among people who have a lot of precept, who you must respect the most is those people with precept, but who really want to help others. Those are the people that you should really respect. So it doesn't matter, what kind of person he is. It doesn't matter, what is his social status is. It doesn't matter whether he's a Rinpoche or a monk or no one. But if he has the compassion, if he has the mind, sense of welfare for other people, that's the person that you should respect the most, regardless of gender, status, position, name, title, anything doesn't matter. What he says, among those people who you should respect the most is the one who have a compassion for others. Yeah. So I think we should stop now. I was supposed to stop like 10 minutes ago. I didn't see the message from Sister Doris. So thank you very much. I tried to, there was only like one question, right? But I hope I'll have more question in the future, like in next Saturday or the alternative Saturday. So thank you very much. Yes, so can start the dedication.